My favorite thing is in doing all of my research for the Countdown to Cats in the movie and stuff is like I would go to Wikipedia and like read about like, all right, who is Rum Tum Tugger? And the Wikipedia would go, Rum Tum Tugger is a curious cat. And I'm like, okay, I understand the attribute. And then when I'm sitting there in the movie, it goes, Rum Tum Tugger is a curious cat. And I'm like, oh, you just took that. You didn't even interpret the music at all. You
just a line from the movie.
That's how you know he's a curious cat, not because of any of his actions.
We'll talk about it. The Rum Tum Tugger is he's the bad boy of Cats World.
Is he the Han Solo?
He's not the bad boy.
Well,
He's not the villain.
He's not the villain, but he's like Danny Zuko in Grease. He's like a bad boy.
He would sleep with a woman, not tell her that he's got herpes.
Yes, exactly.
The Rum Tum Tugger.
But he also has STDs. He doesn't know about. At any point in the movie, do they do this? So they go,
Yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of that.
Oh my God, yes.
I'll be there. Yeah, someone was saying this movie was a gateway to furry porn, and then others were saying it's just furry porn.
All right, welcome to Funhaus, everybody. So 2019, it's been a pretty strange year, a bad one by many standards, a bizarre one for movies for sure. So this week on the show, we're going to talk about the year 2019 and what we consider maybe the worst of the worst. And I've got my friends James, Adam, and Elise as usual.
Hey.
And super guest bud this week, Mr. Joel.
I was worried I wasn't counted amongst your friends.
No. You're super guest best bud this week.
Is that your cat name, Mr. Joel?
Mr. Joel.
Yeah, if I came up with a cat name for you, it'd be Joel Rubin.
This week, the podcast is sponsored by Manscaped. And yet, Joel is here for a very specific reason. And he was handpicked by James to be his jellicle best friend for the Cats.
In some ways, Joel
screening.
picked me.
Wait, Joel was selected by you to go to the heavy side? Is that
Joel is the closest to an old Deuteronomy that we got.
I am more of a Augusta theater cat. Let's be honest.
I did have a friend.
I don't know what they're talking about.
I had a friend text me. He's like, I'm going to go see Cats tonight. See you on the other side. And said, don't you mean the heavy side? He didn't reply.
You know what?
What is the heavy side? You guys, I really know so little about Cats.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with our takes? Do you want to start with a synopsis?
Yeah, can we get a little?
Cats
Can we get a little plot synopsis?
Let me just preface this
What's going on here?
by saying, I've never seen Cats before. Had never seen Cats before. Did months, how long? 6 months worth of Countdown to Cats or whatever. Never seen Cats. Thanks to my research for that comedy segment, I understood 95% of what was going on at all times. And at a point I was leaning over to Joel and going, Grisabella? And he went, yes. And I was like, oh.
So do you have to do 6 months of research to understand this movie?
Minimum.
Okay.
I've seen doctoral thesis on Cats.
Oh. Since you guys were in a crowded theater and you guys were talking to the movie, were people upset that you were talking so loudly over the movie?
Oh no, we stopped as soon as the movie started.
Yeah, well, you give Cats the respect it deserves.
Yeah. Or I thought the joke would be the theater to be empty, or
it wasn't.
They just
it was about half.
They're just happy you're there.
Half full, yeah.
Half empty, half full.
Half full,
empty.
half full, half full.
Were there a lot of people in Jedi robes going to see Star Wars?
There were, there were people in costume.
Yeah, there. I mean,
the bar and stuff.
Yeah,
there were stormtroopers walking around, but I'm pretty sure they were hired by the draft house.
There was somebody making balloon like creatures, and they were making balloon Baby Yodas.
I asked for just a long black balloon so I could say it was Mr. Mistopheles' tail.
Okay.
So yeah, can you guys tell us what this movie is about?
James, this is your chance to wow us with your research.
Okay. So the basic premise is that there's this small cat, Victoria. She is the white cat. She's also the ballerina cat.
This one right here?
This one right here, yeah.
Okay.
She's our entry point into the movie, which is essentially one night she's thrown out of a car abandoned by her owner out into the alleys of London.
Is the owner like 10 feet tall?
Yeah, you get a brief glimpse of
some scaling. I would say in terms of filmmaking criticism of the movie, the scaling is all over the place. Like one person will hold a fork and it'll be like the size of their head, but then another person will have a pencil and it's like if it was a toothpick for the rest of us. So it doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, so she's thrown out and then immediately lands in this alley that's filled with this tribe of cats called the Jellicle Cats. And they come from all different kind of parts of this neighborhood. But essentially, it was lucky for her because she happened to land on the very night of the Jellicle Ball, which is a once a year, these cats gather to, a couple of them are nominated or nominate themselves to sing their story for Old Deuteronomy, who's the oldest, wisest cat, played by Judi Dench. And then Old Deuteronomy makes the Jellicle choice, which is to send one of the cats up into the Heaviside layer, which is a metaphorical resurrection or rebirth. It allows
I don't think it's metaphorical. I think it's like it's actual resurrection to start their new life as the cat they want to be in their next life.
So they're reborn again as a cat?
There's a lot of
How does it improve?
Spoiler, the movie ends with a balloon just going up into the sky, and like literally the last shot could have been a 747 hitting it.
No.
But like,
I mean, I always interpreted it as like you're saying, it's they think that they're going to be reincarnated, but then they just get like their brains are dashed against a wall or something. Run over.
Well, is Heaviside Layer is medical lab.
The only other cat that they kind of acknowledge having been through multiple existences are Old Deuteronomy. So the only person who has any sort of evidence of this being an actual transformation is the one who claims to have done it and who's also making the choice. So
sounds kind of diabolical.
in some ways, we have no idea what the fuck's going on with these cats, but I think it ties into the whole like 9 lives thing and stuff.
Yeah, and this character Victoria is a creation of the movie. She's not in the musical, and I guess the thought process was we need to put more plot into the movie so that it makes more sense. To which I say, failure. The movie still doesn't make a lot of sense, and she's like 100% like she's not.
So there's no main character in that play?
Well, arguably, Old Deuteronomy is the main character.
It's not a play. It's a musical. And it's a cocaine-fueled musical from the 70s.
So I interpreted that character, Victoria, as our Ellen Page in Inception. She's the audience's vehicle.
Yes.
To explain everything.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
Okay.
it's similar. Though there aren't really many moments in this movie where they stop
Explain
and they
anything?
go, let's explain what's
Yeah.
going on. It's kind of just you're watching it and then you're kind of like figuring it out. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, there's a passing reference to this Jellicle ball, and
the Jellicle choice is referenced a lot.
Yeah.
So are all cats in this gang?
No, only Jellicle cats are
What is
in
that?
the Jellicle gang.
The vast majority of the cats on screen are in the Jellicle gang.
We're only watching Jellicle cats here.
Yeah. But
Is there an English translation to Jellicle?
Yeah, so I didn't know this. They were like, because it's the Alamo Drafthouse, they were doing like all this trivia before, and apparently it was T.S. Eliot's abbreviation of Dear Little. And I think they actually referenced that in the movie at one point. But so
Dear Little?
Yeah, like this is my dear little cat.
they're
my Jellicle
endearing
cat.
little
My
cats,
Jellicle cat.
yeah.
He's my Jellicle cat.
yeah.
Oof.
Oh.
That's a leap. TS.
Yeah.
But that's
well,
fine.
he's a poet.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
so again, I would say my big reaction to this movie, having watched it, and this is gonna sound like sunken cost fallacy, where I spent all this time talking about cats and everything, so I have to kind of like it. But that's not what this is. This is just you're not allowed. I don't think we as a society are allowed to say after something has existed for 40 years as art, whoa, this sucks. That to me sounds like a stupid reaction. Like,
Have people not been saying it sucks since it came out?
Yes, people have been saying it sucks since it came out.
But
absolutely.
it's also like Emperor's New Clothes kind of thing. Like, at some point, someone should have raised their hand and said, like, why am I paying $550 for a ticket to this thing on Broadway? Like,
Right.
But no one ever did, because no one ever wanted to be the one who seemed like they didn't get it.
I'll tell you why, and it's deeply rooted in personal experience of a young Joel Rubin. The year was 1987, and it was my first trip to New York City, and my parents brought my entire family to see Cats in the orchestra. It wasn't the original cast, but it was the original production at the Winter Garden
goosebumps.
Theater.
Yeah.
I know. And you
felt
go and
something.
like even as a 6 or 7 or 8 year old, like it's a fucking weird show. Like it's weird, but it's like confusing and weird, and the songs are catchy, and I memorized all the songs. And then you walk out of the theater, and it's snowing for the first time in your life, and you realize it was a magical experience, even if you don't know what the fuck just happened. That's why people go pay $550 is to see that gleam of like confusion and joy in a little boy's face.
To get a weird boner?
Joel and I talked about it as soon as the movie was over, but there's spectacle. And spectacle has numerous interpretations. And that Cats musical was probably pretty spectacular. when it was conceived and
there's
executed.
Cats like crawling through the audience. There's a giant, and there's no balloon, but at the end of the I don't know, spoiler alert, when Grisabella goes into the Heaviside lair.
Yeah.
There's like a giant tire that she rides up through the.
I get it. It wasn't your mama's Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Yeah,
right?
It's Noklahoma. It's Cats.
So, but anyway, so it is.
Noklahoma.
It was spectacle at the time. Now, fast forward to 2019.
A cynical era.
Well, more so. Opening against Star Wars, which in my opinion is the new version of kind of shallow spectacle.
Okay.
Right? Like it's going to completely consume your time and you're going to feel satisfied by it even if you're not sure what it means or anything, whatever. Like you can't compete. So whatever studio head thought now was the time for Cats, we spent like 30 minutes trying to figure out why anyone thought it was a good idea to make this movie.
The movie is it's weird, but I genuinely enjoyed myself watching it. But my biggest question coming out of it is why now? Like they could have made this in they made a film version. They filmed the Broadway show in like 98 or something.
I vaguely remember those TV commercials.
But like, what is it about 2019 that says like we've got to get Tom Hooper to make Cats? I don't know.
It may have just come up. Maybe they just said we finally have the technology to
but they don't.
They didn't. They didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they have the technology. They didn't want to spend the money, maybe.
But this movie cost a
billion,
ton of money.
Les Mis made a lot of money, right?
What?
Les Mis made a lot of money.
Well,
right?
that's one of the things I was like,
and
Tom Hooper may be the X factor.
He may be. It may be that they were looking for a vehicle for him to make, and he made Les Mis and made a ton of money. That's a also iconic musical. So it's like, what other of these famous? I mean, it's what the longest running musical on Broadway or something.
Longest running Broadway musical.
I think Phantom is still.
Phantom's number one. That's right. That's right. And
but Andrew Lloyd's got all of them.
Of all those big musicals, it's kind of the only one that hasn't been tapped into in a studio. So it may have just been, like you're saying, Tom Hooper may have been.
In a weird way, it seems like it hasn't been tapped into because it's such a Broadway it's a Broadway musical and almost shouldn't exist in any other form because there's no other way to enjoy it.
Well, that's my question for you, Joel. I feel like Broadway musicals have a really hard time translating, and like I remember for years everyone's like, go see Jersey Boys, and the movie comes out, you go, it's not very good. It's like, well, it's different. Well, it's pretty much the same thing. It just doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
That seems to happen more often than not, where the translation something goes missing. So what is that secret sauce that they're missing from Cats?
I think the very nature of the show itself makes it difficult to provide a reason to make it into a movie, if that makes sense. Like what I will say, like there's spectacle, and it was bonkers, and they like Tom Hooper did I think a better job directing Cats than directing Les Mis. Like it's a technical. Again, they don't have the. There are a lot of like quibbles that I think both of us, with some of the effects and some of the fur mapping and all this stuff, right? But like, it is a technical marvelment what they've done, and like the scaling issues notwithstanding, like there are wide shots and he does choreography. There's a lot more there. It just there's no reason for it. Makes it like a weaker entry into a movie musical canon. I'm much more interested in, based on the trailer, the In the Heights movie, which we also saw a trailer for before this, and it looks phenomenal. I'm very excited about it.
So if you're going to criticize the movie for the subject matter, I think it's a moot point. We've moved past that as a society. Yeah. Why are you having this discussion that we should have had 40 years ago, kind of about what art can be? And it can be wacky, and it can be strange, and it can feel like it's made up on the spot, and it can just be a bunch of NYU theater kids getting together to just try and trick people into thinking they have a career, like, or whatever, because at certain points that's what Cats feels like. It feels like a bunch of people got together and they were like, if we just say this is important and we just do it, people will believe it, and then we will have a career doing this. Not to discount the singing talent, because there's obviously singing talent, the musical talent, even if none of it makes any sense, and the dancing, right? Like, again, only the pure spectacle. The narrative doesn't make any sense.
Right. But like, again, the narrative never made sense. The criticisms of the movie are the exacts, with the exception of the graphical stuff and the effects, are 100% what the criticisms of the show were. I don't know what they expected out of Cats.
Yeah,
I don't know what they wanted to get out of it.
It seems to me like a framework to show off these performances, to which my question is there, because I mean, I would like to know, is there a performer in this film, an actor, not the character? I would also like to know like which cat you identify with and enjoyed the most.
Is there a best
but I would like to know which actor you thought excelled the most in Cats and who didn't excel in Cats.
It's tough. Great questions. All great questions.
Thank you.
It's tough because kind of like Joel was saying, there's a discrepancy between where they decided to devote their attention. Like they're like, we have X amount of dollars, and so we can either make Judi Dench look really good, or we can make Skimbleshanks look really good.
Played by?
Exactly. I don't know. So it does seem like, you know,
There's the ending.
Taylor Swift as Bumble Arena. She already looks like a cat person.
Yeah.
But her effects are okay. Victoria and the White Cat is kind of jarringly cat-like. I think they just cast her really well.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Idris Elba as McCavity
I didn't care for him.
But he's costumed in such a way that it's like, okay, whatever. It's like they were like, we're not going to do too much. We're just going to let Idris Elba play through.
Why didn't you like it, Joel? What's wrong with Idris?
I don't know. There's just something about it. It's hard. The amount of time that is spent like on McCavity's doing this, McCavity's doing that. Like there's just not enough plot to sustain that, and maybe that's more the issue for me.
Is he McCavity?
I'm just talking about his visuals.
The visuals, but like he's got these really bright green eyes. He's the only cat with super neon green eyes, and it throws me off. And I know he's supposed to be a night cat or whatever.
He's the Napoleon of crime.
He's the Napoleon of crime.
What kind of crimes does he do?
So you did answer my question, though, that I asked you, which was, you didn't ask my question, which was...
You asked like 5 questions.
Whose performance...
I liked...
excelled.
I liked
Let's be positive,
Mr. Mistopheles decently well.
Who played Mr. Mistopheles?
I don't know. My phone is off.
There's some people that are famous people, and there's other people that just seem like theater people.
And then I also like the other like guide cat. I thought that he had like
Monkey Strap?
Was that Monkey Strap? Like had some like good moments of like, even just in the background, he's actually taking it as seriously as you possibly can. Whereas like James Corden and Rebel Wilson I did not think were very good at all.
No,
like,
well,
are they ever?
In a weird way.
I like Rebel Wilson in Pitch Perfect.
In a weird way, I felt like they were way worse performers than some of those theater folks, like the dude playing Mr. Mistopheles or Skimbleshanks and all those other people. But they stood out in this because everything else feels so theatrical and musical. They felt like they were in a movie.
Yeah.
So the way James Corden and Rebel Wilson is like, their singing wasn't as good and their dancing wasn't as good, but they felt like they were like putting humor. They were like not trying to show off those skills because those knew they weren't. So they were like, oh, we're gonna do humor, and part of that's the choreography. But like James Corden is like fat. He's Buster for Jones. He's this fat rich cat.
Yeah.
And he's like bumping into things when he's singing and dancing, and he's kind of sloppy and lazy or whatever. And I'm like, cinematically, I think that works better. But if it is, like Elise says, just a showcase for the dancing, the singing abilities of these performers, they are way below. I would say Jason Derulo is probably the
best famous person performer.
The best merger of everything because he
He's
seems to
Rum-Tum, right?
He figured it out. He's like understood that this is a nonsense musical for song and performance or whatever, but he also has this charismatic modern day performer sensibility. So it's like you're watching a Justin Timberlake music video or something, you know, like.
But his character is also, I think, the best, like the most modern. All the cats are sort of like different characters, right? I mean, obviously they're all different characters, but like there's like the railway cat who's like, he's punctilious and he's on time and he keeps the trains running on time. And there's Buster for Jones who's like an old British, like, I'm a club cat. And then there's McCavity who's the gangster crime cat.
There's Grisabella who's a prostitute.
So Jason Derulo is like, he's like the bad boy at school. He wears a leather jacket and all the chicks dig him. And he's like,
Danny Zuko.
He's Danny Zuko. He's the Danny. Yes, thank you. whoever told you that was spot on.
Did someone tell me? Did you tell me that?
I mentioned it before the podcast started.
I didn't hear that.
No, he's for sure the Danny Zuko. Like he's not like Macavity's the bad cat. He's the bad boy cat. Like, and all the chicks dig him. And I think that there's more of a parallel to, or at least an entry point to understand that, like how to play that character. Like he likes jukebox, he likes music, he likes to dance, he likes to like he's kind of a charming asshole. You know what I mean?
Closeted homosexual like Danny Zuko.
Like in terms of the filmmaking of the movie, though, there was zero adaptation. They didn't translate this into what a movie Cats would be.
Explain.
They just made the musical.
Explain.
Right.
I'm saying, remember Chicago? And they're like, let's just make the musical. Why are we even bothering going to the movies? Because you're just showing me the musical, right? Like this is similar to Chicago in that they're like, well, let's just make the musical. Let's take the musical, Broadway musical Cats, and adapt it to be a movie, which means it is just a bunch of singing. It's a bunch of dancing. There's a lot of shit going on. You're kind of confused, only this time there isn't a cat brushing against you in the crowd, you know?
What would you, but my question is, what would you want, how would you want a musical adapted for film?
Well, I wouldn't do it, number one. I wouldn't necessarily do it, but I mean, we kind of talked about it. One of the big shortcomings is the filmmaking, which is it felt like a choreographer went and worked with all these people in these locations and did all kinds of stuff, and Tom Hooper wasn't there for any of it. Yeah. And then he showed up on the day and was like, all right, now let's figure out how to film this. The camera, the sets, all these things are not a part of the choreography or the musical. Yeah. So it's like you're watching a musical as opposed to, I mean, Baz Luhrmann is a great example of how the camera, the scenes, everything plays into, you can't...
Australia.
It would be, it plays into Moulin Rouge. It's part of the choreography. None of the camera work in this.
Did you like La La Land?
I did, yeah. I enjoyed La La Land. I think that's a good example. Also, there was a trailer for In the Heights beforehand, and even in that movie, even in the trailer, you see how the camera is a part of the choreography and stuff. This feels like they set up a tripod and they said, "Do the dance that you learned," for a lot of it.
There is a lot of weird camera work, and like they have a bunch of visual gags in the movie, but it doesn't give any of it space to breathe. It's so jam-packed with stuff that like when Rebel Wilson gets her hand caught in the mousetrap, like I didn't see it. It was almost like an auditory clue, and then she went ow, 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 cue, and then she said ow. Like, and there were a lot of moments like that where it doesn't feel like it's a film in that way. I guess I see what you're saying. He does take more advantage of the fact that he's got a film budget and film studio and sets and stuff and effects than he did in Les Mis, where like I want to see grand sweeping vistas of barricades in Paris. You don't see any of that stuff.
Now, here's the thing. The movie's called Cats. I've heard there are also mice and cockroaches in this film.
There are, which I'm curious about how that played into the musical.
Yeah, in the musical, as I recall, again, I haven't... So I saw it 3 times, all before I left high school.
3 times.
Very low.
Real quick, you mentioned the Jenny Anydots getting her hand caught in the trap, and they just showed a clip from it in the trailer, and in the trailer they zoomed in.
They didn't do that in the movie.
Which is interesting. It's like they cropped in their own shot because they understood the shot in the movie doesn't even, you wouldn't have any idea what's going on.
Well, did they shoot the movie like Avatar, where it was just James Cameron in an empty warehouse, like just doing stuff? Or
I don't think so.
There's definitely, I mean, I saw some of the behind the scenes stuff here that, oh yeah. Yeah,
see,
that punch is not in the
just
movie.
It's just a wide. This is a perfect example of how there's like no. It's just a wide. That's a punch in or another shot that they didn't even leave in the movie. So,
so Joel, you saw it 3 times.
Explain the mice and the cockroaches.
Right. So as I recall, it might have been like almost like a line of puppets on a thing, and so that all the mice were sort of like marching in line. It's kind of how I remember it. Now that might have been a regional performance I saw in Washington D.C. I don't know if I can't remember if they did it on Broadway or not.
So is there like a standout song or a standout dance number that
everyone's a ringer?
Okay, that's the one that's going to be at the Academy Awards.
Well, no. The only one that got nominated was an original song by Taylor Swift.
And it was not very good, I didn't think.
It's also just like a response song to memories.
So sorry, what was the one, Joel? The song?
I think when It's so hard to divorce myself. Like, it's not a good show, but I like it. You know what I mean? Like, like there's a nostalgia.
We call it a guilty pleasure.
It's not a guilty pleasure.
Yes, it
like,
is.
I don't feel guilty about it. Yeah, like I really enjoy it. But it's not good. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
But it's because it's wrapped up in my memories of having seen it. Right. So like the first like weird synthesizer notes that hit in the very beginning of the show, like I was like, fuck yeah, I'm in. I was like giggling like an idiot for the first 10 minutes of the movie because it's Cats. So like you asked me like what's a standout song? I mean, I think probably Rum Tum Tugger is probably a standout song. I enjoyed Skimbleshanks.
He's a character and a song?
Every character, almost all the lead cats have their own song.
Okay. Why do
like
twice the amount of
Jerry and Rumple Teaser.
Yeah, they're a notorious couple of cats.
Which, by the way, if you check the wiki, it would probably describe them as notorious. So that's your perspective as a fan. By the way, you can see how it was filmed and how it turned out.
Yeah.
They didn't do, it's just minor motion tracking. They fucked themselves and it looks terrible. As someone who's experiencing all these songs for the first time, the only one that truly kind of stood out seemed to be Memory, because that's the only one that the movie allows you to get to a point where you want to hear. It's like a catharsis song. It feels earned. Rum Tum Tugger is catchy, but all of the songs feel catchy in the same way as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 from Sesame Street or whatever. It's like oh, it's stuck in my head. Like I got it, but I don't know that it's because it's the most amazing song or is in the right point in the movie or the musical. I will say that Memory, though, it's like the climax of the movie in a lot of ways.
It's the only story in the show.
It's something that's been hinted at throughout the whole movie, that like, oh, this cat has a story to tell, and if you just let her speak, she's gonna win you over. And so when she finally does, and Jennifer Hudson has an amazing voice, and she's like weeping while she's singing the song. It's like her Anne Hathaway.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's like snot dripping down her nose. And
I would say it's Tom Hooper's fault as far as I'm concerned, where he's like, oh, this won me an Academy Award last time, so I'm just going to do it again. They had 2 huge streams of snot, mucus coming out of her nose, and then at one point in the song, she's like, and I'm like, ah! I don't know why they left that in. Like tears work, snot doesn't.
That would make me gag watching it.
And I felt really bad for Jennifer Hudson because again, it's like she's singing her heart out, and she's doing it or whatever. So, but for me, the second time you hear Memory is like, I was like, okay, this feels like an earned thing. Then there's other stuff like Ian McKellen, who's barely in the movie,
right?
But he's Gus the theater cat, who's this old cat who used to be famous and but he's singing for his chance to be part of the Jellicle choice. But they don't bother introducing him at the beginning of the movie. They just introduce him, and he's like,
they only had him for the one day.
Yeah, I'm worried about doing that, and he already knew all the words, of course. Yeah. And then also,
Judi Dench was supposed to be the original Grisabella glamour cat in London.
You don't need to tell him.
Yeah. I think I mistakenly referred to it in Google Trends as Old Deuteronomy, but yes, she was supposed to be the original Grisabella. But either way.
I heard you see Idris Elba's butthole.
You do not see Idris Elba's butthole.
He
wears a coat for most of it.
Do they have genitals?
He wears a coat for most of it, and then he throws it off, and it's clear that the animators didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So it's just like a shiny body suit that kind of like has his pectorals shaped out of it.
You don't see genitals, but the female cats all have breasts that don't really move, except for Rebel Wilson. She kind of shakes her boobs.
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift does. Yeah. She does a booby shake that has. But they also have like a uniboob.
Yeah.
Like it's like a cat furry thing, but some of them I swear you can see nipples underneath.
Yeah, so shouldn't they have like a line of 12 nipples going down?
Should, yeah. Well, okay, that's another thing I'll say. Probably the most disturbing thing about this whole movie is how selective they were about what a cat is. So human face, they didn't change anyone's nose, they didn't do anything. So it's a human face on the body of an anthropomorphic cat. Okay, fine. Kind of got a werewolfy effect or whatever you want to say. But their hands are all normal.
And that's weird enough, but their feet are also human feet with toes. with two exceptions, there are a couple of breakdancing cats who wear Converses for some reason, but not human-sized Converses, cat-sized. It's very selective. Also, you can see, again, to James's point earlier, like who they spent money on. Like the lead Victoria cat, her ears like move and cocked according to her mood. And then there are a couple of other cats who are just like, they're just like Yoda ears. They just sort of like.
It looks like some of them are. It looks like a Snapchat filter.
Yeah.
That they just went. All right, let me get your face. All right, you're a cat now. But
people
again,
have been saying it looks like a giant deep fake.
Kind of, yeah. It kind of does. Like again, back to the hands thing. Just one more. Your brain is just an amazing organ, because you'll watch it and you'll forget. You'll forget that you're watching a nightmare kind of thing. Because I did. I was watching it, I was like, at a certain point, I was like, I forgot I was watching a nightmare, and it's just Mr. Mistopheles, and he's singing, he's trying his best, and you're like, you could do it, Mr. Mistopheles. And then he'll go, I can't, and it's human hands, and he's a black and white cat, but it's human flesh tone hands with Judi Dench has wrinkly hands with like a ring on them, and it doesn't even match the tone, the skin. So Rebel Wilson there should probably have like orange or white. It's just human hands that pop up, and then you go, oh my God, and it almost makes it 10 times worse.
So
I don't know.
So just to round it out, are you telling our audience to go see this nightmare?
Yes. I absolutely think so. It's so bonkers. Like, the thing is, don't expect it to not be crazy, bonkers, weird, like a misfire on so many levels, but like it is such, and it's not even that it's so bad that it's good. It is
car accident.
It's not a car accident.
Like, you can't look away.
I can't look away, but like, I don't know.
It's cats.
It's cats.
There's really no other way to describe it other than it's cats.
Is it more like a execution video on like Live Leak or something? Like
no, it's not even. It's cats. I don't know what to describe.
Like a building falling down.
No, it's not even a curiosity.
It's not a disaster.
It's not a that's almost the thing. It's not a disaster, which is why it's so hard for me to wrap my head around people giving it like 1 out of 10s or whatever. It's not a disaster. It's cats, and it's been cats for 40 years.
Do you think it would have been less effective and worse if they had tried to normalize it and make it less weird?
I don't know. They probably should have done a survey with literally anyone that said, should this be a movie? And then they wouldn't have done it.
I appreciate how, like, look, it's a creepy, weird, horny, rubby, licking, boobs, like furry, sometimes mess, but it's like it's so, the show itself, you go see it and it's just like that. They've got this makeup on. They have so much makeup on, you can smell it from the 50th row. Like, and they're doing the same thing. They're like nuzzling each other and licking each other. And like there's in this movie and in the lives, like everything about it, it's just cats. It's so bonkers. Like, I appreciate that they leaned into it. I kind of wanted more of it. I wanted it to, like, you know what? If you're gonna be this weird about it, be super crazy weird. I don't need a plot to cats. Give me just pure cats.
I think thinking about it, and this may not have worked at all, but I think if they had done a fully CG movie with celebrity voices, maybe it would have been an easier pill to swallow, but it probably wouldn't have been as true to the monster that is cats.
You're saying like with like actual, not these cats, but like Pixar style cats.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be way less interested in that.
But I think it would be maybe more accessible. I think it wouldn't have been true to cats or of what it is. I don't know. Cats. It's cats.
It's cats.
I don't really know.
Does this movie make furries? Like, do you think there are people that go out and they get sexually interested in these cats?
There's like a modern version of a young Joel Rubin whose parents didn't take him to New York, but they took him to the movie theater. He said, I want to see Star Wars. They went, nope, we're seeing this instead.
I absolutely would have fallen in love with like Francesca Hayward and Taylor Swift and been like, yeah, that's sexy, and I'm into it.
But here's the thing.
Absolutely.
There's sexy things about it, but I don't think it's that they're cats. Like, I don't think Taylor Swift is sexy in this because she looks like a cat. Taylor Swift already looks like a cat.
Yeah. Right, but you're an adult with a full-formed brain. You're not a child.
There are a lot of people that I'm sure are very attractive in real life that are monsters in this. Which again could theoretically turn someone away from being a furry.
Is this movie dangerous in the way that Joker might have been? Like, maybe you shouldn't show this to children?
No.
Okay. Kids need to see this.
Okay.
If a kid's a furry, a kid's a furry.
This should be required viewing for kids.
Right.
How old does your son have to be?
As soon as this comes to home video, we're watching it. Dana's not interested.
I was going to say, were you recording it on your phone? And you're like, here you go.
Yeah, I know. There's weird tension. Everyone talks about how horny this movie is. I think that's more of a weird statement on them.
That's something you're projecting.
Because they're like, God, this movie's so... And while it is sexually charged, there's like moments where kids... Let's do it, Joel. Where they're like this. They're gonna kiss. And then they go... And you're like, oh, okay, I almost had a boner for a second, and then you did that, and I immediately lost it.
Interesting. I mean, cats do that typically if they want food or they're rubbing their scent on you to make you part of their tribe.
That's what they do. That's how they use
her
it.
Into the jellicles.
Gotcha.
Also, they let a lot of the people just go hog wild. There's like no real consensus on how catty they are, because like there's one point where Ian McKellen is just in the background just going meow 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 meow, and it's like no one just told him no. He licks out of a dish at one point. He's like I will be a cat, and Tom Hooper didn't say, well, we're not doing that much cats. Yeah. Like he was like, well, this is what cats do.
I'll shit in this pile of sand.
I'm a method cactor.
Yeah. And a lot of them hiss at each other. But it's just people faces doing so.
Just fascinating
with human hands.
It's mind-boggling.
It's such like again, yes, go see Cats.
James,
absolutely go see it.
Do you say people should go see it?
I don't know. I mean, it's not going to change.
Not saying
it's
yes.
not going to sway you any one way or the other. If you have an open heart and you think that you want to experience spectacle and art and music in just new ways that maybe you haven't before, then
in new 40-year-old ways.
So then
you're saying
probably
like,
Cats is going to be fun.
Like when Elise and I go, we should dress up as the cats or not?
I told
you
James
shouldn't.
to get me a cat bodysuit.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it.
Are you glad you invested 6 months of your life into Cats?
Yes. Oh man. In terms of comedy, I could not have picked a better movie.
But what I really, really enjoy is that a lot of people think that you genuinely were excited and thought it was going to be good.
Well,
and I know sometimes our audience doesn't really get when we're being facetious or sarcastic, but I have noticed that I think some people thought that you were genuinely.
But you seemed excited to go see it with me last
night. I was because it's a payoff of a lot of
stuff.
And again, I sometimes don't judge things that I'm not going to judge it by whether or not I like it's for me or I like it or any of those things. It seemed like they made a movie that was going to be true to Cats, which I knew to be a bonkers, crazy 70s cocaine-fueled musical. And so I was like, that appeals to me. I don't know that any of the subject matter of the movie. I don't know any of the songs. I don't really care about anyone that's in it. But this, and also when it came out, the special effects was this weird. I was like, someone made this decision. This is going to be a delight.
I know. Imagine if they made it like 10 years ago, but in the same like fashion, just with shittier motion capture.
Yeah.
Shittier.
It satisfied me. I was sitting there feeling satisfied, and when it was over, I like still had the song stuck in my head, and I wasn't regretful that I saw it. But again, it's it's either this or what is it? Climax by Gaspar Noé.
That's a different kind of nightmare.
You guys all saw what was it, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs?
Yeah,
great.
Remember they had the kid Dudley from Harry Potter, and he has no arms and legs, and he's reciting Shakespeare. At least we don't have to do that. Like, our entertainment has evolved so much where it's like, at least you get to see something weird like this and go, I don't care for it, but it's weird and I enjoyed it. Like, we're so spoiled.
I don't know. It's
you know, the limbless guy telling you stories.
It feels like a bunch of normies being like, I don't get it. This is weird. And it's like, just give into it. Give into it.
I get it that they made something for the people who wanted it, and that's fine.
In some ways, this is the cinematic equivalent of that banana taped to a wall.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you want to call it art, okay, I'm sure whatever art impetus is there, but if you think it's just a banana taped to the wall, then it's a banana taped to the wall.
I say go for all of it. I'm a woman that would rather watch a piece of felt move than a human.
It's true.
Oh, would you see Muppets Cats?
Oh. Too horny.
I don't know.
Not horny enough.
Not horny enough.
So support for Filmhouse comes from Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Jingle balls to the walls, fellas. Listen up. Untrimmed pubes are a thing of the past. It's time to gear up and get yourself the gift of shaving this holiday season. I'm talking about the Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. Manscaped is a revolutionary company that has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their Lawnmower 2.0 has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. The Lawnmower 2.0 comes inside their Perfect Package 2.0. which makes for the perfect gift this holiday season. It's literally everything you need to keep trimmed, cut-free, and smelling nice down there. The Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0 also includes the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Perfect Package will also come with a pair of Manscaped high-performance anti-chafing boxer briefs that'll keep your junk feeling fresh all day. 'Tis the season to Manscaped, so get yourself, your dad, your brother, and friends the best gift of all. The Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code FILMHOUSE at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. So that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code FILMHOUSE. Clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. So thanks, Manscaped, for sponsoring the show this week to let us talk about cats.
Did you get free Manscaped product to try?
I did.
How did it go?
It works.
Let's just say I asked to see his jellicle balls. I did this morning. That's a true story.
True story. Was it like grab the trunk and lift? Okay.
The tail?
But serious thanks to Manscaped. They've sponsored a lot of our shows, especially towards the end of the year here. So do us all a favor, do the show a favor. Go check out, see what they're all about. Go to their website, look into their product, order some for someone this Christmas. It's not expensive, and it's really great stuff. And it's great to support the sponsors that support our show. So I think we're going to move on. We have a little bit of time to talk about the worst films of the year, which, not to bring up Cats again, but is this in your worst of the year?
Close.
Okay.
No.
All right. So to change completely over, Elise, what would you say was maybe the worst movie you had to sit through this year?
There was stuff like Hellboy, the remake that I chose not to sit through. That was terrible. I turned it off.
Do you remember the circumstances under which we almost watched it?
I put it on to make Zach watch it.
We were watching something else. We were watching The Gate.
The Gate.
Starring from Blade.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We all know his name. Don't worry about
it.
Yeah, people were like, how could you forget
I know.
his name?
I'm sorry.
The
but
Gate.
But we were watching The Gate,
yeah.
and then we were like, well, maybe let's put on something else. And then put on Hellboy.
And then we were put the gate back.
Put the gate back on.
Stephen Dorff?
Stephen Dorff. That's him.
Oh.
As a child, Stephen Dorff. If you ever wondered what the bad guy from Blade looked like as a kid, watch The Gate.
But even that was like not good enough to put the time into. I would say the movie I watched beginning to end that I had the least interest in was Brightburn. What a misstep.
The concept is so cool, though.
It should be. Yeah. It should be. But
it's a really good short film.
Yeah. Maybe that's it.
A lot of the elements of it start to fall apart once you really examine it. And like for me, the whole thing was like Elizabeth Banks was like, no, it's not his fault. I'm like, you found him in the woods when a spaceship crashed there. You've forgotten. It appears you've forgotten this.
Well, they burn through, no pun intended, but they burn through the exciting, what should be the exciting part of it in the first 10 minutes. And they go, he's a bad guy. And then the whole movie, like, but who killed the farmers? Like, the bad guy you showed, he's bad the whole time. And it has an interesting ending, but that's probably about it.
To me, if you're going to do any kind of if you're going to flip the Superman story in any way, it's Superman Red Son is the most interesting alternate version of like, well, what happened if Superman, like, and this is kind of like, well, what happened if, Superman was actually kind of evil, inherently evil. But Red Son, I think, takes it in a more interesting direction. Yeah.
Right? He's a Russian. He crash landed in Russia.
That feels more like a nurture versus nature situation, which I really like. But this was just didn't do it.
We're sorry. I thought it came out last year, too.
Maybe it's because I thought if you had asked me, I would have been like 2007?
Yeah. It also felt dated in a way.
Yeah. It was like a Blumhouse, right? It was like a cheap.
I believe so. Yeah, it was a micro budget in a way.
Was this on someone's worst stuff list? Was it really that bad? I didn't see it.
The Men in Black movie?
Yeah.
I just put a bunch of trailers together for films that were on people's worst stuff. I think this was an example of a movie that there were several of them this year where there's a huge budget, $100 million spent on just trash that people did not like.
Spent on a name.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, mine's probably a tie. Aladdin, which I also saw with Joel.
Yeah. My review for Aladdin is that I was not high enough. Although, as I recall, when we were done with it, you were like, you thought it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be, which I guess still could be one of the worst movies of the year.
I guess my thing is it wasn't bad in the places that I thought it was going to be as bad.
I think I was more disappointed coming out of Aladdin than you were.
I was just like it. Sometimes it bothers me. Like, well, why did you even bother? Why would you even bother? Like, I didn't see Lion King, but I'm sure if I had, that would be on my list because I'm like, why waste time and money to do this? It's just a worse version of something already. Yeah. So, but Aladdin,
$1 billion later.
Is it upsetting that a movie you considered one of the worst of the year made $1 billion?
Oh yeah, of course. But I'm used to it by now. That's my life. This is the world I live in. But yeah. So like again, there's certain things about Aladdin. I was going like, oof, this Will Smith genie thing is going to be terrible. Never Had a Friend Like Me is the high point of the whole movie.
Oh, wow.
Which is saying a lot considering how much it means.
It's all relative, yeah.
Well, everything else, yeah. I see what you're saying. Is that a pun?
No, I mean it's all the fact that song is good, but it's good in relation to the other things in the movie.
Okay, yeah. But
literal.
The rest of it is trash. The rest of it is insufferable. The things it adds to the movie are worse.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because sometimes I dock things harder when it comes close, and I get it. There's a value to Aladdin of this. The cartoon, for as great as it is a whitewashing of a different culture, of a Middle Eastern cultural story, right? But this movie was like, no, we're gonna take that Middle Eastern culture, we're gonna relish in it, we're gonna share more of it, and we're not gonna whitewash it. We're gonna like expose you to it and then tell the story in a different way. Except they touch on that slightly, and then the rest of it is just the most boring, like it seems like Guy Ritchie sold his soul to the devil kind of scenes to just to get through
so
it.
Bored in a lot of it.
It seems so boring. But yeah, so that's my tide for other one. My other one is Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. That was really sad.
I'm disappointed at how I thought Dark Phoenix would have been worse. I remember walking in and going, it wasn't great, but it also wasn't like horrifically terrible.
Very boring.
It was just boring, yeah.
Did Bryan Singer direct that?
No,
it was the
Kinberg?
Guy who's directed or who's produced most of the other ones.
It has a lot of dumb moments. Like, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like
atrocious.
It wasn't so offensively bad where I was like, I hate everything that's happening right now. I think Apocalypse was probably worse. They're both bad. They're both fighting for like.
Because I like turned off Apocalypse.
It's not great.
It's on the same level.
It sucks because like Days of Future Past, like okay, we're getting somewhere interesting here, but like. I mean, Dark Phoenix was, like Elise said, it's just boring.
Well, and why are we still doing this?
The action wasn't exciting. Yeah. Like, these are supposed to be effects movies, and they didn't even design fun fight scenes or action scenes.
It's just funny when Beast, Nightcrawler, and Mystique are in the same scene, and no one went, there's too much blue.
Yeah.
Everyone here is blue or a white person, and there's more blue people than white people.
Yeah. But that's called representation in Hollywood, Adam.
The thing is, too, also what stopped it from being like the worst terrible movie ever, they at least did a cool scene with Magneto, which is like, it at least had a cool scene where he like takes all the guns off the walls and he uses, like, I was like, okay, cool. He did something cool with his powers. That's the special effects team doing their job. And
was there a cool Quicksilver scene like there is in every?
I don't think so.
He went down in one of the early scenes in the movie. And he's gone.
Seems like he's going to, and then he doesn't.
Yeah, there's just a lot of it doesn't make any sense. Tonally, it's all over the place.
I will say, it was pretty ballsy to reveal that they killed Mystique in one of the trailers. Like usually you would save a big kill for the film. Especially the main character.
I think Jennifer Lawrence tweeted it. Said, I'm done.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence, that was her trailer. She tweeted that trailer out.
Yeah.
With a statement saying, by the way, I don't want to do this anymore.
But it's another example of, $200 million spent on just a horrible plot, bad acting.
I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we're done with X-Men being made by someone who maybe doesn't really give a shit about it. So be interesting to see when it's put into the fold of the mega billion-dollar.
Is it going... So did Fox retain X-Men or they sent it over to Disney?
Disney.
This is the last Fox X-Men.
The only thing Fox kept, I believe, is their news division and sports. And even sports, I think, has gone rogue and is its own thing. Maybe that could be wrong.
That's good. I mean,
that's an antitrust thing, but yeah.
Say what you will about the Marvel movies being bland. At least they are well-crafted burgers,
But at least they're connected. Yeah, it is McDonald's. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Joel.
Yeah. The Kitchen.
I saw The Kitchen too. It was pretty rough.
It was really for me. I wasn't able to see a lot of movies this year. I had a son this year, and so we didn't get out to the theater. So everything that we saw was like stuff that we wanted to. We sat down at the house. We're like, we're gonna make a conscious effort to watch something.
What was it about the kitchen that's let's watch this?
Honestly,
movie?
It was that Dana wanted to watch it.
Okay.
Based on the cast more than anything else.
Yeah, and it purported itself, at least through trailers, to be kind of like a tough girls take on gangsters.
My problem is that it's really poorly acted.
Yeah.
I think it's really poorly scripted.
It's shallow.
It's really shallow. I really liked the concept of a female-led gangster, mafia, Irish mafia, but mafia film set in the 70s. Cool, I'm in.
Time period gangster movies are awesome.
With a really potentially compelling cast, but every beat was so pat. The acting is so. Everyone just looks bored and done, and it was not fun. It's not even that it needs to be fun. It just was not a good movie. It's poor, bad movie. Bad movie.
They were all caricatures. There weren't any real character or depth to any of the people.
They're unnecessary twists.
They're all good actors. Actually,
all good actors, but not in this movie. No. There are twists that aren't the payoff. There's no setup for them. So when it's like, haha, here's a twist. It's like, well, thank you. There's no setup there.
That's the first plot element of the movie, almost.
Yeah.
How did seeing that movie with known poor reviews affect your relationship with Dana?
We're not talking anymore, and it's been a really rough 6 months.
Man.
Wow.
Thank God you have 2 bedrooms.
It's good you have someone to go see cats with.
It does seem almost like someone from the middle of nowhere, in Oklahoma or something, that had never seen a gangster or done any research about any real criminals, tried to write a movie about criminals in a time period.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it really feels like.
I'd actually say Domhnall Gleeson was pretty good, and I thought she was okay. But
how does it feel knowing that she's a Scientologist, though? Does that affect your ability to view?
It does.
All of her movies.
I like the movie more now.
Elizabeth Moss, yeah, big time.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that one either.
Also, she's in The Handmaiden, but it's like
she's in The Handmaid's Tale.
Whatever.
Handmaid's
Tale.
Those are 2 very.
And she's a Scientologist.
And she's a Scientologist, so it's like. You just reading lines on the script, you care about this material.
I'm looking at your list. You got Dark Phoenix, The Kitchen, Aladdin, Pet Sematary, Lion King, Brightburn, Glass, MIB International, The Goldfinch, never heard of that, Gemini Man, Serenity, and Playmobil?
Playmobil
You did it too.
What's Playmobil?
Playmobil.
Do
you remember Playmobil?
Animated
no
film.
idea.
It's like Lego for babies.
Oh, I had no idea.
It's
But you've
it's
heard
big
of
Lego.
Playmobil before.
I normally would.
Arctic Dogs?
I don't know. This to me has been the year of the boring bad movies.
Yeah.
So when everyone's like, Glass is terrible, I'm like, well, what's bad about it? Well, it's boring. It doesn't really do anything. So, well, I'm just not going to watch it then. So I've just been avoiding movies this year.
But that's the thing. Some of us got tricked by trailers or hope or naivete into going and so Glass. I think considering where it was getting set up from, I think there was a lot of hype. For me and Elise, at least, we were like, oh man, this is a good movie. It has a whole movie to show us that you can make another good one, and then it was not. And the trailer promised something that was not this. So
it promised the characters interacting.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to Kangaroo Jack, how much did it trick you?
Pretty close. I mean, it's pretty close.
I mean, honestly, we should know better about an M. Night Shyamalan movie and not think it's going to be good.
The next one looks real good. I'll be rare.
What is it? He did it.
I saw a TV show or whatever.
Oh, was it? Oh, it's the Apple. Yeah, you're right. Apple Plus thing. Yeah, I saw the trailer for it. I was like, oh, it's pretty interesting. M. Night Shyamalan. I'm like, okay, he's a coin flip, and then Apple Plus. Like, nope, I'm out.
But from other things that are on the list, like Pet Sematary, I didn't think it was bad necessarily.
It's just boring and
it was just kind of
redundant and it's been
slow.
done.
I had never seen the original, and then they released a trailer which they should have said only for people who have seen the original, because it telegraphs every single moment from the whole film that if maybe I hadn't seen, I could have enjoyed a little bit more.
Best part of the movie is Mom's stuck in traffic and it says dairy. 75 miles away.
Wow.
It's all in the sun.
So I just put Playmobil on the list because it's going to go down as a legendary flop. It cost just $75 million, not including marketing and stuff, and made less than $1 million in the box office.
I didn't even know this was a movie.
Yeah,
it's literally the first time seeing this.
Well,
I'm glued to it.
Again, this is where we're at though, because a lot of these companies are going, what is a brand that exists? That has more value than something that doesn't exist yet but might be good.
Well, they saw the Lego movie, make a whole bunch of movie, and they're like, let's do that.
But when you can put those on the same tier and go, Lego Playmobil, you should be fired.
Right.
Like, true.
Because you're just looking at an Excel spreadsheet and you go, based on the math, kids love Playmobil. It's like, well, if the movie's not marketed and it doesn't have anything that looks charming about it.
Googled other brands like Lego.
I see a lot of media. I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I get served a lot of ads. I've never seen a trailer for Playmobil the movie. Yeah. Like, was it a bad movie? Was it poorly marketed?
You have a kid too, so
I have a kid.
Some of us not getting it makes sense, but Google should have known.
I turned off all my personalized ads.
So
sure you did.
I did watch LaQuisha for this episode, and if you were aware when the trailer came out, LaQuisha,
is it a movie or a person you know?
It's a movie about this bartender who's down on his luck, gets a job at a radio station, having a radio show where he gives advice to people, but he's pretending to be a black woman. So essentially like Blackface the movie, but Black Voice the movie. But it's just as tone deaf and terrible as you think it would be. The acting's terrible, the writing's terrible, the editing's bad. In two parts of the movie, they just start overdubbing. Like they clearly say the word iPhone, and someone just went smartphone, and they replaced it.
But that's what makes it bad.
No, it's tone deaf. It's awful. It's it's racist.
Does he get his comeuppance? Does he learn?
No, he doesn't. That's the problem. Is it's just one of these movies where this guy wrote, directed, edited, starred, did everything for the movie. It's clear his ego is crazy, and he made this movie for himself because no one else will.
Based on a true story, then, right?
Yeah,
that
seems
in
like
his head.
Yeah,
it's like the world misunderstands this guy who's very deep and super smart, but his ex-wife's a bitch. It's just, I don't know. It's everything terrible that you think it might be by looking at it.
Is the root of this movie that he can do a black lady impression, and so he wanted to make a movie where he does a black lady impression?
I'm guessing that's pretty much where it came from.
Yeah.
And it's terrible.
I mean, I saw the trailer for this and participated in the online discussion of it, but
to me, it's not a bait and switch like a Dark Phoenix. Or
No.
It has no pretenses of watching this trailer to say this is a good might be a good movie. No, you watch that and you're like, this is garbage.
No, yeah. Well, granted, it probably had a budget of $50,000 instead of $200 million, like Dark Phoenix, but that doesn't excuse all of the terrible production value and just how offensive it was. And even in the plot, he hides the whole time. He's hiding from the world that he's really LaQuisha. And then when it comes out, everyone forgives him. And it's like, oh, it's okay, Joe. You're great anyway.
And they all stood up and clapped. These are the stories we tell ourselves in that. Yeah. Am I the asshole?
Hashtag that happened.
It is super masturbatory in that way.
I believe the movie theater died for me yesterday. It's mostly dead to me. But
did you go see Star Wars again?
I saw Star Wars again with Jess. We talked about this on the last podcast. We did the review for Star Wars. I don't want to spoil it for you, Joel, because I don't think you've seen it yet.
I'm going to see it on Saturday.
Okay, I'm not gonna say anything.
I'm irate with Twitter right now.
I still enjoyed it a second time.
Same.
And I still kind of stand by everything we said. The worst part was the guy going with like a opening weekend. The guy on Snapchat or Instagram video, or whatever, who they're just now recording scenes from the movie, and then Jess and I look over, and he kept pulling up his phone to see if his likes were going up. He's just filming the opening crawl. And then at one point, Jess just kicked the show and said, stop doing that. And he went, oh, shit, sorry. It's like, yeah, it turns out when you have a flashlight, everyone behind you can see. Why go to the movie theater?
What bothers you more? That you kick his chair and he goes, oh, sorry about that?
Sorry, bro.
Or would you rather you kick his chair and then he goes, what the fuck? And you're like, I would almost rather someone who is so removed from society that when he has his phone out and he's doing this shit, and then you kick his chair and you go, put your fucking phone away. He goes, what the fuck? No, It's my phone. I'd rather that reaction.
You're itching for a fight.
No, it just means that this person is completely disconnected.
Right, but
this guy was still a human being. And he was like, oh, I was disturbing someone. I didn't realize.
That's the 50-50 I go through, because you describe that scenario and I tense up and I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't want to get, the last thing, and I'm expecting to see is just like two people fighting in an audience at one point where I'm like, well, I should just go.
It's going to be me. It's going to be me.
No movie is worth wrestling someone in the audience for, because someone can't.
James Williams is a curious cat.
That's what I'm saying. I'm guessing Cats would be a better overall experience because
the theater's empty.
There were so many like last night there were like a lot of serious scenes, whether with Old Deuteronomy or with Grisabella, that were like really serious, meaningful scenes where the audience was just laughing.
It was honestly
just a lot of laughter.
It was like watching going to a Rocky Horror Picture Show midnight screening, except no one knew, like it wasn't like cued like those things are where you're throwing spoons and stuff.
Right.
Like it was just like everyone kind of was naturally going like, are we here for the conception of a new Rocky Horror Picture Show kind of thing?
Oh.
But everyone seemed to have a good time. Oh, almost forgot to mention it. I'm gonna let you wrap up the show, that's Dan, cool. But
we're all here.
Amazing. That movie, I don't know how long it was, 2 hours, 3 hours, I have no idea.
It was a time zone.
Literally in the midst of the final scene of the movie, with about, I would say,
like 5 minutes left, like
maybe like 2 lines left.
Yeah.
2 lines of dialogue were remaining in the film. 4 guys in one of the front rows got up and left. And Joel and I started dying. We're like, that was it for them. That's all they could tolerate. And then it's like, they go to the theater, the door closes behind them, credits.
Did something happen to prompt them?
Nothing changed.
Okay. There was no final straw.
It's just funny that they were like,
the Cats crowd to the parking lot.
Yeah, they're like, this is all I can handle.
I'm pretty sure that everyone in my row at Star Wars, myself and my 2 friends included, all went to the bathroom at some point during the movie.
I went to the bathroom during Mungo, Jerry, and Rumple Teaser because they had changed the music, and I was like, I'm not interested in seeing this. This isn't my Mungo, Jerry, and Rumple Teaser. You know what I mean?
That's a slur, but...
Oh, wow.
Oh, on that note, thanks for coming around this week. Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring this episode, and I'm sorry to say we don't have time to talk about the Power Rangers reboot this week. Maybe we'll get to that another time. Thank you all for coming around. Thanks for going to see Cats, guys, and catching us on Cats.
Stop thanking me for going to see Cats.
I have no regrets. Honestly, I have no regrets.
Thank you for paying for my ticket to go see Cats.
Anytime,
Rooster
Joel.
Teeth.
Anytime. All right, we'll be back next week, everybody. Bye.
They at least at some point explain, they're like, well, how did you know? He goes, I don't know. The Force told me. And they go, okay, cool. There's our Deus Ex Machina. Like the Force is a power that moves the script forward. They're like, and that's fine. That's okay, as long as at least they admitted it in the movie. And
this is going to be a worse